Hello and you're very welcome to this video in our series on final accounts for junior cycle business based on learning outcome 213 in the junior cycle specification. And in this video what we're going to look at is basically the theory with the profit and loss account. So we're going to look at some examples of household expenses and business examples, but then we're going to look at the key terms used in the profit and loss account. Profit and loss account, just to recap, is in the income statement. It's below the trading account, which we just looked at in the last few videos there, and ultimately takes the gross profit, takes away our expenses to find us what the net profit is. But we learn more about that in the next video. This video is about the theories to what each of the things mean in the profit and loss account. So first, just get us back in the mindset of things. Think back to when you were in first year business, when you learned about household expenses and household expenditure. Can you think of an example? So list 5 examples now of household expenditure. Are you ready? Press play to continue. So, on the next slide here, as you can see, these are some different examples of expenses or things that we spend our money on within the household. So paying back your mortgage, light and heat, rent, car tax, telephone bills, holiday, petrol, insurance, telephone, groceries, clothing, education costs, entertainment, and your TV license. These are all things that we did with the household budget and with our with the household expenditure chapter back in first year. But now what I want you to do is I want you to think about that, but think about it from a business point of view. So what expenses might a business have? So what examples of ways that business might spend their money? Pause the video, jot down a few ideas and ready, press play to continue. So, here's just some of the examples of things that businesses spend their money on, and this is really important for what we're looking at today. So for example, wages or salaries, light and heat, rent, postage, repairs, office expenses, insurance, telephone, stationery, auditor's fees, general expenses, cleaning expenses, carriage out, bad debts, depreciation, travel expenses, loan interest and advertising are just some of the examples of business expenses. In other words, things that businesses spend their money on a day-to-day basis. Now what we need to do is we need to know what each of these things actually mean. So for example, wages and salaries is the money or the payment that an employee makes to the employee in return for working for them. Light and heat, same as what you had for household expenses, paying for electricity and heating bills. Rent is payment to the owner of the property that you're using, or the land or the building that you're using, basically, to pay for using that land in case you don't own it. Okay. Postage is literally paying for stamps, letters, etc., for sending out letters. Repairs is literally the cost of maintaining any equipment or machinery you might have in the business. Office expenses are the general running costs in the office, so usually include stationery and that type of thing. Insurance, then, you would have looked at in the insurance chapter, but it's the cost of taking out an insurance policy. There's lots of different types of insurance policies, like on vehicles, buildings, etc. We looked at those in the videos on insurance. You can get the link to them somewhere on this video, God knows where. Telephone expenses, they cost your telephone bills, so don't forget you have your landline, okay, or it could be your mobile phone bills. Stationery, we looked at in the office expenses, basically the cost of your pens, papers, folders, all that type of stuff there. Then you have your audit fees. That could be a new one. You know what an audit is? An audit is basically the cost of getting an auditor, which is a person who checks your accounts. So you get your accountant to actually make you to write up your accounts, and then you get an auditor to check the work of the accountant to make sure the accountant hasn't made any mistakes, basically. General expenses are literally just the cost of miscellaneous expenses that you have in the business. So it could be for tea and biscuits for break time, external consultants in for different things, legal fees for minor little things here and there, general day-to-day expenses that are too small to classify as themselves. They're usually little one-off expenses, or kind of like petty cash, small expenses. Cleaning expenses, well, cost of keeping the business premises clean. You have to pay. Sometimes you have to get a cleaning company in to do that. Carriage out. Now, is there anything what carriage out is? We looked at carriage in the previous videos there. I wonder what carriage out could be. Well, of course, we know what carriage means: delivery, okay, or transporting goods. So it's the cost of transporting goods out to the consumer, okay? So the cost of goods leaving the business to go to the customer themselves. Bad debts then. You know what bad debts could be? That's a good important term to know as well. Bad debts basically is when you sell goods to a customer on credit. In other words, they're going to get the goods now, but they're going to pay for back in a later time. Very common thing that happens in business, and usually businesses have 30 days to pay back what they owe. Okay. Unfortunately, sometimes you can sell goods to a business that mightn't have any money and might be bankrupt. Awkward. In that case then, if the business that you've sold goods to goes bankrupt and they haven't paid you, you're going to write that off as a bad debt. In other words, they're never going to pay you, so you just have to write it off and say, oh well, our loss, what can you do about it? Simple as. Next one is depreciation, another important term to know. So basically, we have things called fixed assets, i.e. things that the business own, that they're going to own for a long period of time, kind of like what we spend capital expenses on, okay? So for a household, like for example, buying a new car or buying your house, will be fixed assets, things you own for a long time that hold their value, okay? In a business, you'd be talking your vehicles again, but machinery, office premises, those type of things. And naturally enough, over time, these things lose value, okay? Why? Because, well, just general wear and tear. I mean, you think, if you buy a car, delivery van, the older that is, the less valuable it's going to be because it's been used, might be a few dents, the engine's getting older, there's more miles on the clock, etc. The business writes off each year a little bit of its worth. The asset, or the thing it's owned, is worth a little bit less every year. So if they were to sell it, it's not going to be a huge loss in their account. So that's what we call depreciation. So by a certain percentage each year, so let's say, for example, they reckon a vehicle is going to last 5 years, for the argument. They might depreciate it by 20% each year. So at the end of the 5 years, when the vehicle's run into the ground and is useless, then on the accounting side of it, the vehicle is then worth nothing because over the last 5 years, they've taken 20% off the value of it. Make sense? Another way to look at depreciation is the amount of use the business has had from that item in that year. Then, of course, you've travel expenses. That's the cost of employees travelling for work reasons. Obviously, it's really happened in COVID. But you know yourself, if a business person has to go abroad or go travelling for a sales trip or something like that. Another one is loan interest. Well, we've learned our interest isn't already in saving or borrowing. So it's the amount of interest a business has to pay back on a loan they have. Advertising. Well, if the business is going to advertise and promote the business, that's going to cost money as well. In this video, we've recapped what household expenses are, what business expense, we've looked at examples of business expenses and what each of them are. In our profit and loss account, we're going to see these business expenses in there. So it's important that you know what a business expense is and examples of them. In the next video, we're going to actually look at the account side of it and actually put all the numbers in place. So, hope this video made sense and you enjoyed it. If you liked it, why don't give the video a like. If you have any questions, ask below in the comments. And of course, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you now in the next video. Bye now.